All right, mes amis. So when you were reading this, the idea is to take a look at it and see, just by guessing and just by seeing them in action, can you have guessed the endings here? So we've got a nous habitons. Let's see, we've got another nous parlons. We have another nous parlons, another nous parlons. Ooh, we have a negation there, nous ne parlons pas. So the pattern that we're seeing at the end of that nous is ONS. So it looks like you took habiter or parler, those ER verbs, you knock the ER off. So that's the way that we're getting the root here. And for nous, we're adding ONS. So let's see what other endings that we can see. All right, so j'habite avec. All right, so it looks like we took off an ER and added an E. All right, so we have j'étudie, j'explique. Even though we haven't seen expliquer as a verb, check that out. Yeah, we're seeing still that pattern of adding an E. So for je, after you take off the ER, whether it's habiter or parler or étudier, or even expliquer, so a new verb we haven't seen yet, those still look like they're all getting an E for the je. I don't see any twos. Let's go to the il and L. Let's see here. We have mon père. That would be an il, parle. All right, so I see an E for an il. Il ne parle pas. I see an E. All right, do I see any other il or L? So we got an L here, another E. Doesn't seem to matter if it's il or L. En. So the E and the L, the en goes there with that one, and I see another E. So I'm going to add an E here too. So it looks like all those questions, when you're doing it for he and she, you add an E. Let's look at the vous. All right, so y'all see vous when I write it for things for all of you, but I see the vous has an EZ. All right, we got a vous with an EZ here, another vous with an EZ. All right, so there's that pattern that you take off the ER and you add an EZ for vous. So the il and L, remember this is il et elle and il et elle. The only time you hear that S is when it sounds like a Z and runs into another vowel. For example, they have is going to be ils ont, they are is going to be ils sont. So that's the only time you hear that. All right, so I see when we've got it up here, we've got il with an ENT. Mes sœurs, that would be an L, more than one, right? So that's an ENT. Mes frères jumeaux, my twin brothers, that would be an il, a they, an ENT. So that's how we get to the answer, that the ending there is ENT. So if you got there, awesome, bravo. The only one that we didn't see here is a 2, and you guys have already started to see that with 2M a little bit. So those are the endings, E, ESE, ONS, EZ, ENT. All right, so now we're moving over to our conjugation with ER. So this is going to show you here, le radical et l'infinitif sont la terminaison ER. That's fancy grammar talk for the root is the infinitive. That's that whole verb that we've just been learning, like écouter and parler and nager and manger. Those are infinitives. Those are the verbs before we break them down. And it's without its ending, its termination, its ending ER. And then the endings that you add are EESE, E also for L, ONS, EZ, ENT, and ENT. Also remind yourself over here that non-binary they, EL, will go like il and on, that pronoun that means one and everybody. So you can see over here when you drop the ER and you add those endings, je chante, and this you don't hear. Tu chantes, you don't hear it. Il chante, elle chante, nous chantons, ou you hear that ending. Vous chantez, you hear that ending. All right, you ready? It's so weird. Il chante, elle chante. So il chante sounds the same as il chante, elle chante as elle chante. So these are the only endings that you are going to add there. All right, so the Pardon me. All right, so the examples here, you can see passer, to pass by. What that looks like when you say passer, right? To pass by. Je passe, I pass. Tu passes, you pass. Il passe, he passes. Elle passe, she passes. On passe, everyone passes. And then remember, your il passe would look like that as well. Nous passons, vous passez. Not ils passent and elles passent, mais il passe, elle passe. You see the same thing for travailler. So, on ne prononce pas la terminaison sauf pour l'infinitif, nous et vous. That's showing you here that the only endings that you are going to pronounce are the nous and vous. So, this sounds like passer, but je passe, tu passes, il passe, elle passe, nous, on passe, elle passe, il passe. All those sound like this, passe. And then nous passons, passons. That's how phonetically you represent that. And vous passez là. So those are the only ones you're going to hear. So then you're going to tackle on your first worksheet these verbs. All right, so some of them we know, some of them we don't. The cool thing is, though, that the pattern works whether you know the verb or not. Chercher, we've talked about that. Cherchez vos feuilles de papier. This means to look for or to search. Habiter, you know. Aimer, you know. Préparer, we talked about le repas, the meal, last week. So préparer, to prepare. Marcher, to march or to walk. You could put that in there, to walk. You know chanter, you can figure out arriver. And remember that early is tôt and late is tard. It's on that wall where the opposites are if you need. Elle, arrêter is to stop. We actually have this word, arrest. Remember when you have a little hat? Maybe that used to be something with an S there. We say you're in cardiac arrest if your heart stops, or you were arrested if you were stopped by the police. So we have that word too. So arrêter, she stops. Vous pensez, we've used je pense for I think. So you can see here that the verb penser means to think, and rest, to rest or to stay. So I would like you to check out these verbs following that pattern. We'll do one together of you take off the ER and then you add the ending that matches. So, je, cherche, and then I'm going to, I might check myself. What's the ending that goes with je? All right, it's just a plain old E. Je cherche un bon livre. Try the rest of those out. These cinq, you could use these new verbs if you'd like, or you could use your own verbs that you are just practicing, like nager and écouter. So if I wanted to say we swim at the river, try and practice, especially ones that you haven't seen. Maybe I'll use en for everybody, right? So on nage, everyone swims. On nage à la rivière. So instead of just saying j'aime or je peux, you can start to say who is doing those activities. So write 5 of your own sentences. And then your task is to, after that, with some new ER verbs, donner, to give, right? Like you give a donation. Passer, we already looked at, was to pass by. Chercher, we already looked at, was to search or look for. Penser, remember, is to think. A pensive person is a thoughtful person. Écouter, to listen. Aimer, to like or to love. Arriver, to arrive. Entrer, to enter. And cacher, this is a really great one, to hide. If you've ever heard of geocaching, you are hiding something for somebody else to find. So I'm going to ask you to conjugate this and see if you can see the patterns. On the link that you have on Google Classroom, you definitely have this. All right, so you can see the pattern there with the ERs, and you could look and you could copy for sure if you need to, but see if you're up to the challenge, right? This is like that new equation in math class. So see if you can do it without looking at it. See if you can figure out those patterns. All right, and then your weekly grade for this week is going to be this worksheet all conjugated and then this second piece. So one more time, you should have picked this up outside the door. If you're watching this and you haven't gotten that, run up and get one, or print these at the library, and you'd only have to print that second and fourth page. Merci, à demain.